On August 3rd, 1997, in the formerly known as the Meadowlands Arena in East Rutherford, New Jersey, Bret the Hitman Hart became a five-time WWF champion. Five times, number one, a five-time champion. There you goddamn go, Bret the Hitman Hart. Once again, truly proving that he is the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. And also, Shawn Michaels and Undertaker will go on to have one hell of a goddamn feud throughout the end of 1997 and into the early part of 1998 before Shawn Michaels' debilitating back injury. I'm still going to stick by that no matter what. Other things occurred as well. Some that were good and some that were Russo goddamn rific. Let's get to it. I'm John Renton with the retro view of WWE SummerSlam 1997. Yes, the former Meadowlands Arena, now the Continental Airlines Arena. I didn't realize that's actually what they changed the name to. The Meadowlands. Truly a historic venue when it comes to professional wrestling. And the first time that the WWF had been back there for pay-per-view in 8 goddamn years. Because of taxes and all that. Vince McMahon was going to evade every possible tax that he could and said, "No, you're not going to tax me. Ha ha ha. I'm going to take my shit out of your state, pal." So yes, we have actually a pretty pivotal event here because you did have Undertaker versus Bret Hart with Shawn Michaels as a special guest referee as the main event. You had Owen Hart versus Stone Cold Steve Austin, a match that was cooking until the inadvertent tombstone that forever altered Stone Cold's career and life. To be perfectly honest, it was a double-edged sword. Those are difficult to grab. You know, I saw a movie that had a double-edged sword in a scene online once by mistake. By mistake, huh? And also other, pretty memorable moments. You had Mankind against Triple H, and then you had other stuff that wasn't all that good. But first, let's talk about the facts and figures. So, 20,213 fans, and we had around 235,000 pay-per-view buys. It was up from the 157K in 96. But if we go all the way back to Mania 13, that was at the Rosemont Horizon, I believe, in Chicago, Illinois. 218,000 pay-per-view buys, 237,000 worldwide. Not all that great, in all honesty. I do want to apologize, by the way, if I sound just a little bit rough. It has to do mainly with the weather changes. It is very muggy currently. We've gotten rain for the first time in about a month, and the temperature didn't really drop. And it's affecting me, because I'm sick, I'm old, I'm tired, and I'm reviewing shows when I was a child. So, or from when I was a child, but never mind butchering that. Let's talk about In Your House Taker's Revenge in Rochester. 142,000 pay-per-view buys. So, yeah, even though Undertaker had won the championship from Sid Vicious, Psycho Sid, whatever the hell you want to call him, wasn't necessarily drawn all that great. That wasn't Taker's fault because, in all honesty, from about, I'd say SummerSlam 96 through to about this point in 97, they were having some issues drawing fans for a lot of their pay-per-view events. Now, they still had a better relationship with the pay-per-view providers, so they got a better cut of it. Turner Home Entertainment and all that stuff that was messing around with WCW, they were having issues getting a lot of the lion's share of the pay-per-view revenue. But still, the In Your House model, sure, they might have been shorter shows, at least at first. But by this point, the In Your House stuff is really just a way to say, yeah, you can watch it in your house, but you're going to pay a little bit more. And then speaking of In Your House, we go to A Cold Day in Hell, that I believe, if I remember right, had Austin against Taker for the title. And that was in Richmond, Virginia. 163,000 pay-per-view buys. So, okay, we're doing a little bit better there. King of the Ring 97 in Providence. Not exactly a stellar event, shall we say. Had its moments, but whatever. 144,000 pay-per-view buys. Ooh, Barracuda. And then we go to In Your House Canadian Stampede. I would argue one of the best WWF pay-per-views of the 90s. I would put that right up there, at least in the top 10. For the crowd reaction alone. But honestly, that fucking card was really good. Even the match, even like a couple of the matches maybe weren't all that great. The 10-man tag absolutely made up for it. But there was some great goddamn shit there. That was in Calgary, obviously. 171,000 pay-per-view buys. Then we go to In Your House Bad Blood, because baby, we've got bad blood. Before, we need to talk about Ground Zero, though. That was right after SummerSlam. That was the Louisville Gardens, 136,000 pay-per-view buys. And then we go to the aforementioned Bad Blood Kiel Center, 186,000 pay-per-view buys, and unfortunately, Brian Pillman did not make it. He died the day of. That still hurts me to this day. More on Brian Pillman in a little bit. And then we go to Survivor Series 97 in Montreal, 284,000 pay-per-view buys, where Bret and Shawn had their rematch, and nothing controversial happened at all. Why would you even think that? But then we go all the way to the next SummerSlam, SummerSlam 98 and 99, that I will retro-view sometime this week. Yeah, SummerSlam 98 in Madison Square Garden, 655,000 pay-per-view buys, 700K worldwide. Yeah, that's quite a jump, I'll say. So we get the patriotic opening, and also, it's kind of funny, this event happened the day before Luger would win the title at the Palace at Auburn Hills in, the same venue where he won via countout and then celebrated like he just stopped World War III, 4, and 5 put together. And he would win the world title for just 5 goddamn days. But, USA champs. And then the WWF, the leading, force in sports entertainment and all that. Package on Taker and Bret, sponsored by Stridex. Shout out to Not Dr. Death for what he did with a particular picture of a certain adult film star in a Vader mask with the Strider logo in the corner. That was just absolutely made me roll. Steve's a great guy, does a lot of great memes, has a lot of great jokes. So anyway, Vince, JR, and Lawler on commentary. This is when they were going to the 3-man booth, much like WCW had. And I mean, they've been doing the 3-man booth for a bit. Still a bit much for me. At least at this point, all the guys are playing off of each other. And Vince would step away from commentary pretty soon after this. I mean, I think right after Survivor Series 97 would be like the last time he would be on commentary. I'm flummoxed a little bit in my head as far as like some of these, some of this time period, but I know he wasn't on commentary much longer. Then we go to Ode to Joy being Triple H's theme. I don't know why that always made me laugh. Mankind versus Triple H, or Mike Hunter Hearst Helmsley. I can't help it. I have to say it. With Chyna in the corner, steel cage match. And it's funny, a few years after we had Bret and Owen in their terrific semi-main cage match at SummerSlam. I just still can't believe Taker versus Taker. Brian Lee was in a goddamn main event of a SummerSlam. It's like Brutus Beefcake being in a main event of a goddamn pay-per-view. But fortunately, they'd never do that, especially once he left WWF. Oh, they put him in Starrcade. Good job, Bischoff, you idiot. So, Chyna made her presence felt a few times. Choking Mick through the cage, slamming the door on his head. And there was a nice superplex spot. Look, they were cooking here. This actually, I would argue, is one of the best SummerSlam openers. This was pretty damn good. I would say this is better than Ray versus Angle, or at least right up there, because this had more story behind it. Not that Kurt and Ray didn't have a storyline. I mean, you had Ray evading him, and you had Kurt saying, "You're a man, you're a boy. I'm a man that loves to play with boys." And Kurt was willing to make himself the butt of all jokes. Probably wasn't the best line to say there, but nevertheless, at least Angle isn't a priest of any kind. So, they wall-to-wall action, literally, like we were Dale Earnhardt Sr., just slamming around, or Princess Diana in that French tunnel. And then Chyna, she got sent to the floor when she was trying to interfere. Got sent into the floor, into the barricade. Good stuff right there. And Foley would then eventually jump off the cage like Snuka did. The difference is Foley has never killed anybody and, then had a career afterwards. I mean, he's never killed anybody anyway, but nevertheless, Foley manages to climb over, drop to the floor just before Chyna can pull out Mike Hunter Hearst Helmsley, and there you are. So, Mankind gets the victory after being unable to win the King of the Ring tournament the month prior. And then, was it the month prior? 2 months prior. Because then they had their match at Canadian Stampede that ended in a brawl and led to this. And then they would actually have their match where Cactus Jack would make his WWF debut. And Kevin Dunn got proven wrong because the fans popped. Kevin Dunn deserves to be run out of the town on a goddamn rail. Actually deserves to be run off this earth. Somebody send him into space without any oxygen. So that being said, it did also pop for the fact that Vladimir, they finally released his goddamn, documentary, biography, whatever the hell it was, on Peacock. And he just seems like an overall good guy. He's right there. He was always in great goddamn shape. I mean, did he lift goddamn cinder blocks to get in that great shape? But in all seriousness, his enthusiasm, so infectious. And I do like there was one line, or one, little clip from that. And I didn't review it, but I did watch it. It was pretty good. But Nash, as Diesel, sees him. Hey, Vlad. And a lot of the wrestlers seem to like him. So, Foley wins it. Dude Love music plays, so it seems like we're going to go with the Three Faces of Foley thing, which would lead to that happening at the Royal Rumble 1998. Todd Pettengill was still in the WWF in later 97. I thought he was gone by Mania 97. I'm not knocking Todd Pettengill. He seemed enthusiastic. Didn't seem like he knew a ton about wrestling, but had enthusiasm and was a great pitchman. He really was. Governor Christy Todd Whitman, I think that's her name. She showed up to booze, and maybe drinking booze based on this promo. Got rid of the taxes in New Jersey, which led to, or taxes against wrestling, however it was worded. And why were the headbangers here? Then again, I've been asking myself why the headbangers were there in the, for a while. But hey, it's still better than Beaver Cleavage. Gorilla Monsoon was there. She got presented with her own championship. So, Tiger Ali Singh was in the crowd. Good Lord. Tiger Jeet Singh should have just gone absolutely insane with his... Did he have a scimitar or something? He had something. I can't remember what the name of the sword was. That being said, the sword of Damocles was hanging over this goddamn match. We had the Goldust. It's like the Ryback that Bryan Danielson said. I'll dig myself out of this bullshit. Goldust versus Brian Pillman. Marlena in the corner. Goldust. If Pillman lost, he would have to wear a dress. And I believe if Goldust lost, then Marlena would be Pillman's for 30 days. I do remember that leading to him gothing her up, and holy hell. So, I just wish that Pillman had never had that accident. Because, god damn it, even if he wouldn't have been able to wrestle much past, say, 2002, he still could have had a full life. And Melanie wouldn't have fucking benefited from his goddamn death. Because she did by stealing the damn money from the tribute shows and not giving it to the goddamn children. Not at least splitting it evenly with them. She was a dumb bitch, and you know what? I don't feel bad. I hope she suffered mightily. Because she deserved it. Because she was a pillhead and a druggie and never wanted to clean up. Look at her look at her even in the 2006 Brian Pillman documentary. Even with her new nose. And then take a look at her on the dark side of the ring. And everybody ages, but good God, she basically aged like a goddamn orange left out in the sun. That being said, Pillman did well, but you could tell he was in pain. Dusty got mentioned at one point. They had a botched sunset flip finish. And then they did something where Pillman got sent into the ropes. Marlena slapped him. Sunset flip. 1, 2, 3. And now Pillman must put on the dress. Which I think he did the next day. If I really, really wanted to, like if I just wanted to devote all my time, I would have done what Wrestling Bios did a number of years ago, and I would have done my own version of Reliving the War, and just watched Raw, Nitro, from the beginning, all the way to the very end. But I've done pockets of it in like the last year of WCW, and believe me, that was enough. That was more than enough. The pay-per-views are more than enough. The whole point is, if you decide to rewatch, say the Russo era, say pretty much actually from Fall Brawl 99, right after Bischoff got sent home, all the way to the very end, you're going to feel like you just want to split your brain in 3 pieces. One for the logical side, one for the bullshit side, and one for I'm going to store this and save this for future generations so they can study just how quickly I went mad. Speaking of going mad, the Godwins had a Confederate flag in Jersey. I forgot that Henry Godwin actually broke his neck in 97. I thought it was 98 for some reason. I think he re-aggravated it in 98 when they were Southern Justice. But LOD against the Godwins. Not a technical masterpiece. It was a brawl at first. It kind of didn't go well. Albano was in the front row. Kind of funny considering Albano was in the corner of the Head Shrinkers 3 years prior. The neck got targeted, and Henry Godwin got planted with a spike pile driver 1, 2, 3. It was what it was. It wasn't necessarily a match that you need to pay attention to. It was better than a match that's going to come up here in a bit. So, there's Todd, Sonny, and Sable for what they were worth at this point. And I'm not talking about Todd. I'm talking about Sonny and Sable. So there's some contest for $1 million, and you thought Vince McMahon's $1 Million Mania was bad. They called somebody, they didn't answer, and then I don't know what it was. They were picking out a key, and the key would have to open up this box. And yeah, Sunny's known for opening her box to everybody. So was Sable. So I don't know about Todd, but poor Todd Pettengill. Seemed like a nice guy. You thought, God damn it, you thought the $1 Million Mania shit was bad. This was not good. This wasn't as bad as giving away the house on the first ever In Your House pay-per-view, but nevertheless. So then, recently, actually the previous Raw, the British Bulldog had, managed to make Ken Shamrock eat dog food. And then, just slam the dog food in his face. So now we had a European Championship match between those two. And Shamrock almost got the victory, but there was a messed up suplex spot outside that would have ended badly no matter what they did. But then Bulldog does a dog food slap. Shamrock messes up, or just snaps and everything and messes everybody up and gets DQ'd. That was a mistake because rats, he almost had the Bulldog eating dog food. But he gets some cheers by laying out agents and all this stuff and everything. See, this is how you use Ken Shamrock. Because trying to have him cut promos probably wasn't the best idea. But it was a way to keep the championship on Bulldog and build up Shamrock's unhinged character. And then Bulldog would go on to defend the European Championship at one night only, where nothing bad happened. Nothing about Bulldog dedicating the match to his sister who was fighting cancer, who I believe died 2 years later. Or maybe even soon after that. And then, maybe it was a year later, I don't remember. But Shawn Michaels ended up beating Bulldog and then didn't give him his win back because that would make too much sense. Because Shawn Michaels was just that kind of prick. But he traded one addiction for another, so it's okay. So nevertheless, look, I'm not saying Bulldog should have ever been the WWF champion. There was a time where maybe he possibly could have been. Late 95, maybe mid 96 if they really wanted to give him a 1 month run. But it was just wrong place, wrong time. So then we get Todd with Shawn Michaels. He says, I'm going to call right down the middle. And if he pulled out a whistle like goddamn, what the hell, Fonzie. Bill Alfonso. I was trying to remember the name right there. That annoying little shit. And I know the idea was you were supposed to hate him and want to see somebody shove that whistle up his ass, but it was too out of control, and it ruined so many matches. There are so many matches in ECW that he is involved in that's hard for me to watch. It's hard for me to watch any of them because he just ruins it. So he's going to call right down the middle, Shawn says. And then Los Boricuas against the DOA. This match was DOA. This was faction warfare and Russo-rific bullshit. The Nation of Domination showed up. Funny how Brian Lee was in the main event and then was in this match 3 years later. The fact that Brian Lee was still getting opportunities in WWF is saying something because he was never particularly that good. Neither were the Harris twins, but at least they beat up Shawn Michaels, but they have Nazi tattoos, so fuck them. Fuck them both. Bald-head, stupid bitches. They deserve to be called that, by the way, because if you're going to have Nazi tattoos, if you're going to have Nazi tattoos in general, you're a piece of shit. If you're going to have Nazi tattoos and feel the need to cover them up, here's an idea. Don't get fucking Nazi tattoos. So, the Nation shows up, and then Shane attacks the big Johnson, a.k.a. Ahmed Johnson, who attempts to hit a Pearl River plunge on the floor and messes up because it's Ahmed Johnson, so he's known to do that. And then the Boricuas win. And then everybody brawls. And then Crush gets on his trikey after being kicked out of the Nation and tries to run everybody down. By tries to run everybody down, I mean he conveniently goes through people and then conveniently goes back through them. And this is a match you could have seen on Raw. I mean, I know it was a way to get people a pay-per-view payoff, but good Lord. So, Owen and Austin build. We get to the match. It's Owen versus Austin. Intercontinental Championship match. A kiss my ass match. A lot of people forget that. It was a weird stipulation. But that being said, they built it well. They built it, from In Your House Stampede, Canadian Stampede, and even before that. Austin had been targeting the Hart Foundation for a while. Been targeting Brett. They've been getting all this, And this match was cooking. It was really cooking and everything. Austin did push Michael Cole out of the way backstage, which is exactly how Michael Cole should still be treated in this company. And they were doing some great stuff. There was knee focus by Owen after clipping the knee, and Austin was focused on the arm, and then Owen was targeting the neck. They were doing some good stuff. Pretty much for about the first 14 or so minutes of this goddamn match, it was really good. And then the Tombstone. God damn it, Owen. I mean, and look, I'm not saying that Owen intentionally did it. I'm not saying he did. But boom, Owen hit Austin, and Austin couldn't move. I mean, he could barely move his arms. Owen stalled enough to where you could almost sense that something wasn't wrong, but you knew there was, because it's like, okay, it's not even like Austin isn't popping up. Austin's not moving. He's finally able to get a little bit of tingling and feeling back. Gets one of the worst roll-ups ever, not in an Eric Watts or David Flair match. 1, 2, 3, wins the Intercontinental Championship. But the fans knew something was wrong. And the referees are trying to get Austin out of there, and that would change the trajectory of Austin's career. In the short term, it made Austin an even bigger goddamn deal to the promotion. And I still find it funny that even before that, Austin had been trying to be a vicious heel. Even when he was a ringmaster, even when he beat Jake the Snake Roberts, the Austin 316 stuff, because he was still getting some cheers. But he did that. He was getting so many goddamn cheers at that point. There were Austin 316 signs. It wasn't the biggest ascent yet. He would beat Yokozuna rather on the free-for-all match at SummerSlam 96. He'd wrestle Brett at Survivor Series 96. Win the Royal Rumble, even though he was eliminated. And then they would obviously do the complete switch at Mania 13. But things are already going in that goddamn direction anyway. And Austin wanted to be a heel. And the fans were like, fuck you, you're our guy. And they anointed him. He may have not wanted it, but don't swim against the tide. Good thing Austin never tried to turn off the fans after that. Oh yeah, Mania 17. Yeah, I forgot about that one. But still, Intercontinental Championship, he would get back in the ring. He wouldn't have the championship for long, I think a few months. I think by December 97, he was pretty much done with the title. But he'd go on to bigger and better things, beating Shawn Michaels with Shawn's debilitating back injury. So, package on Brett and Taker. The stipulation, Shawn's involvement, really good stuff built on TV, even though WWF was losing the ratings war. Brett was on the mic, wanted the Canadian national anthem played. I got that wrong, totally goddamn wrong. I'm going to have to hail a cab to get out of here. Given what's going on in this country, maybe I shouldn't be saying that, but entrances took 14 goddamn years. So Taker does the lights up and everything. Shawn's out, Brett's out, everybody's ready. And look, Brett and Taker always worked well together. Yeah, their Rumble 96 match kind of got ended in a little bit weird fashion, but it was still pretty good. And Shawn was the guest referee. And the crowd was up for this. I'm not going to get into every single detailed move because they just worked so well together. This was better than the Rumble 96 match because you could argue this had a better finish where things splintered off better. The idea is that Shawn could not show favoritism to either person, or he would not be able to wrestle in the U.S. Brett made a vow, if he cannot win the WWF Championship from Taker, not just win the match, but win the title, he will never wrestle in the U.S. again. Which basically practically telegraphed that Brett was going to win this, but you're wondering, how are they going to have Brett win this? Because it's Taker. Undertaker can't lose this match. This is also the longest title reign that Taker had of his goddamn career, which isn't really all that surprising. He'd held the title since Mania 13, and so he'd had it for just over 4 months. And it was brawling at first. Shawn was doing what he could to keep both in line, but doing just enough to piss off Brett because of their history, and piss off Taker because of history that they would end up building. You know, just planting the seeds there. Shawn just planting his seeds in Undertaker. And then the creatures rise in the night. You're welcome. Have fun on seeing that. But Brett wore down Taker, targeting the knee. Undertaker using his power, still sawing the knee. So great work there. Paul Bearer comes out because they've been building this whole thing. Kane's alive! And I think they started that in, what, June? late June, early July. One of the two. And then you get the figure 4 post spot where thankfully nothing bad happened like at Starrcade 99. Thanks to issues with the referee not understanding and of course Bill Goldberg. So, Shawn teasing just enough to what's going on here. Good stuff. Owen and Pillman show up, offering a distraction after a choke slam, long enough to where Taker could have won, and he picked up Shawn and was like, what the hell are you doing? And Shawn's like, I'm the referee, this kind of, I was trying to get them out of here. And then we get near fault, we get a choke slam outside in for 2, and then we get a superplex spot by Bret, a sharpshooter. And Taker broke it, and I believe it's the first time anybody broke the sharpshooter. Austin almost did at Mania 13. Sharpshooter on the post, sort of, kind of. Bret gets sent into Shawn. Shawn, who had a knee injury, a debilitating knee injury, a pussyfoot injury. I mean, that's Bret's words. I'm not saying Shawn wasn't injured, but so were a lot of people. Shawn just had to take more of his, medication, and he would have just felt fine. Worked out for him, didn't it? Nevertheless, look, he got clean. I'm just saying. There are just so many things that could have worked out better in 96, 97, and even 98 if Shawn wanted to play ball. Insufferably good in the ring is the best way to describe Shawn. That being said, so we get Shawn limping. We get a chair shot. Shawn gets in the ring, but just a 2 count. And then Shawn finds a chair in the corner and says, Bret, what the hell is this? What the hell is it? And Bret's telling him to go fuck himself, basically. I think he actually did say that. And it's like, if you can read lips, you could see it. And then spits on him. Shawn, boom, hits Undertaker, because Bret moved. Remember, Shawn can't show favoritism. So, Bret covers Taker. 1, 2, 3. Shawn's disgusted with himself. Taker goes out after Shawn after he wakes up. And trash is showered in the ring. I forgot they threw trash in the ring, actually. But it's New Jersey. So, they were just taking what they found on the street. Because Jersey is a very dirty state. I'm glad that nobody from Jersey watches this. Because God forbid if you did, you might be offended. Nevertheless, it is a dirty state or so I've heard. And Celebration with the Hart Foundation. Good stuff. Really enjoyable. No, not a perfect event. There were issues. But as far as flow from beginning to end, this had a nice flow to it. Even the undercard was mostly solid. A few horrific things, but when Vince McMahon wanted to build a goddamn main event, and he had the right people involved, he could do it right. And Shawn played his part perfectly. Him and Taker were going to have 2 matches, and then Shawn would go on to, have nothing to do with the Montreal Screwjob. Yes, he admitted he did. Whatever. Casket match, all that. Bret would go to WCW and not be utilized properly at all. Bring him out on goddamn television on the Nitro right after. He doesn't have to wrestle. Because if his contract really wasn't up until sometime in December, I don't know what's true and what's not, but it's like you could have had him appear on TV and just not had him wrestle. Give him a live microphone. 10 million people watching Nitro right there. That being said, that's months later. So SummerSlam 98 and 99 coming up later this week. Depending on when this goes up, it might actually be right around the time you're watching this. But yeah, it's been fun to revisit some of these. But then we get into the real messy stuff of the Attitude Era. And oh boy, me oh my, down on the Space Bayou. Agree, disagree with what I said? Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Rickland. I'll see you soon.